Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If I wanted to plan a road trip to California, I'm going to drive to California, right? I think I would know exactly what I need to do. I need first to get a map, right?
Okay.
I need to set a date. I need to plan what route I'm going to go on. I need to plan what I'm going to take. I need to plan what I'm going to do in case of emergencies. I need to plan where I'm going to stay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to plan everything for the whole 3,000-mile trek from here to California, right?
Yes.
And then eventually I will get there, we hope, right? Uh-huh. What happens in the course of a plan is that things get thrown in your way. You know, the car breaks down and you didn't expect it. The road is out. You know, there's an accident and you got to be delayed, or you get to the hotel and they say, we didn't get your reservations. It's all numbers of things can happen, right?
Exactly.
But still, when you say, I'm taking a trip, and you plan it out, you know exactly how to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, what if you wanted to build a house? I don't have the skills to plan to build a house. Mm-hmm. So I have to find somebody who has those skills, right?
Exactly.
Well, you would think that it wouldn't be that extreme to do some of the normal things that you do on the beginning of a year. You try to lose weight. You try to have a better habit, I guess, or lose a bad habit. I lost a bad habit, 7 or 8 years ago. I quit smoking cigars.
Yep.
I lost a bad habit.
Yes, you did.
If you ask me how I did it, I can tell you, but I don't know that it would work for everybody. So I'm not the architect for changing your mind about something, like the architect who could build your house. I might be able to plan a trip to California, but I have a hard time when it comes to things that just you need to do. You need to, whether it's a success in your business or whatever, or finding a mate. How many people have done, how many people have you have done this? They're kind of alone. Maybe they're young and they've never had a girlfriend or boyfriend, or maybe they've gone through a whole path and decided it wasn't worth it and then changed their mind and said, okay, I am going out and I'm going to find somebody to be, so I won't be alone anymore.
Right.
Anything is possible. That's what we hear all the time. We've heard from so many different authors who tell us this, and sometimes they say, think positively. And I remember the Anthony Robbins thing where it made sense, and then he said, you got to go swoosh and change this bad habit for this good habit. And I was saying, how do you do a swoosh? How do you do the whole swoosh? Well, I had this conversation yesterday with our next guest, and she's on the phone. Jamie DeNovo is on the phone, and I can't wait to introduce her to you. It says here she is an agent, a passionate agent for positive change. Mm-hmm. And she's written a book called I Am Possible, Muscle for the Mind, The Power to Achieve Success When Success Seems Impossible. And good morning, Jamie. How are you?
Good morning, Larry and Robin. It's great to be speaking with you.
You too. And I love the fact that what I read so far, because you sent me a PDF of the book, it does sound more practical for a guy like me anyway.
Well, that was the whole object of creating the book. I found that just like you did, when I hit a very challenging time in my life, I was lost. I felt like books were kind of like you're trying to climb a mountain, and you've got books for building a skyscraper. I had a completely different set of issues that I couldn't get to where the books wanted me to go. And that's exactly what this book has resulted in. Going to one of the world's top neuroscientists and working with a ton of research, I was able to work through walls that were exactly like you're describing, where you're trying to build something and you don't know where to start. You don't even know what tools to use.
Exactly. Yeah. But even if we do know what tools to use, just like we know where to go on our road trip that I was describing, things get thrown into our path. So let's change that and switch to talking to losing weight. That should be a pretty easy task. I mean, it's simple. You exercise more, you eat less. It should be simple. Mm-hmm. But yet we don't. It's not simple. Why? I don't understand why.
Well, the reason it isn't simple, Larry, is first of all, we need to understand how our brain works. Because just like you said, if you're going on a road trip, If you don't understand how to drive a car properly in the first place, and enough about your vehicle to understand when you run into problems, how to make adjustments, and how the dynamics of that vehicle work, you can do all the planning in the world. And you're going to hit a snag, and chances are you may not reach your destination. So it's the same with gaining weight. The problem isn't really as simple as it seems. Once you understand that there is a whole set of comfort processes, of ways we've trained our brain and behaviors that have become comfortable, once we understand how to change those, not only your weight can change, but many other things in your life. Because understanding your brain is understanding the architecture of everything else you do.
So one of the things that Tony Robbins did say that I kind of did hang on to, it sounds like you're touching on it, is that we are attracted to pleasure and resentful, or resentment's a bad word, but we go the opposite direction of pain, and we attracted to pleasure. So you mentioned the comfort part of it, and that's absolutely true when it comes to losing weight, because it's not comfortable to pass up that donut, is it?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the biggest problem most of us have is not leaving our comfort zones. It is sticking with a discomfort zone long enough to get through to the other side and create a new comfort zone. How do we do that?
Oh, I'm all ears. How do we do that?
Well, I'm waiting.
Yeah, this is the part we didn't talk about yesterday.
Right. Well, what I would love to tell you is that you can encapsulate it in 2 sentences, but just like learning to drive a car or do anything else, there are very simple step-by-step facts that once you learn them, they lead to the next aha moment. When you understand these simple things, then you can put them together, and now you know how to use them to get through those discomfort zones. But I'll just very briefly give you 3 things you need to know that your brain does that create everything else you do. The 3 underlying processes of your brain are to, 1, first of all, generate knowledge. 2, that in turn produces behaviors. And the third is then we create reality. And I'm talking about our internal reality, the perspective that we use, to do things, but then the outcomes that we create, whether they are what we want, whether we don't want, positive or negative, that's how it all goes. And to the extent that your knowledge is faulty, your results are going to be faulty.
Really? Are our goals often wrong? For example, I'm going to use this again. The trip to California is possible. What if I said I wanted to take a trip to the moon? It's a crazy goal. There's no way that I guess there's a way, because we've done it. We as mankind, I mean. But I would kind of be... so if I speak to a young guy who's picked up a guitar and wants to be a rock star, can I say, well, you might be able to do that? I mean, but how do you know what I mean? We speak to authors all the time who have books, who are wonderful authors. And it's hard to explain why one book goes to the top of the charts and another doesn't.
Well, I think part of the problem, and I can't speak for every book, definitely, but part of the problem is because many of the books incorporate philosophies. There are certain things that you have to use. Anyone who promises you can have anything you want is trying to sell you something, because you know what? That's just not realistic. That's not reality-based. But when you have universal cause and effect principles that you look at and go, wow, this makes sense. Now you're aware. And that's why believing can sometimes get us into trouble, because what we believe, you're right. If you believe you can get to the moon, all the practice in the world isn't going to get you there. So,
how does money fit into the equation?
How does money fit into the equation? Well, money can certainly solve a lot of direct problems in this day and age. But money in itself, if you don't have it, you can become very emotional. And if your basic needs aren't met, emotion overrides reason a lot of times. And it will paralyze your ability to be able to move forward. Mm-hmm. So you can stay in that place. But also money can also start to too much of anything can start to give you a sense of delusion. It changes the way you take in knowledge. It changes your self-concept. And that's something my book and my processes really teach you. Once you understand how you create your own self-concept and how your brain aligns everything you see and do with your self-concept, then you start to understand how you are maybe making some mistakes, why you act the way you do, and how you can change it. And it's actually the basics of doing that are very simple. And you don't even have to believe, because these processes work. You take one step and it will open the way to the other.
All right. Are there any exercises and tips you can give us, and are they in the book? And can I ask you to wait to answer that until we take the breaks?
Absolutely.
We have so many questions for you, Jamie.
Absolutely.
I knew this was going to go fast. I knew we were going to reach the middle before I knew it, and my mind was definitely not paying attention to the clock. So let me take a little break, Jamie DeNovo, and we will be right back. Again, the book is called I Am Possible, Muscle for the Mind. It's I period, M period, possible, muscle for the mind, as in taking the word impossible and making it possible, which I love. That. So we'll be right back with Jamie DeNovo after the weather.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Periods of clouds and sun today with a shower and thunderstorm or two in the area, mainly this afternoon. The highs in the 70s to near 80. Mostly cloudy tonight with a passing shower, lows in the upper 50s to mid 60s. For tomorrow, clouds and limited sun, highs ranging from the upper 60s to the mid 70s. And for Thursday, New Year's Day, pleasant with clouds and sun and a high in the 70s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The following message is sponsored by Urban Cardiology. Some tips to minimize the stress that accompanies the holidays from giftoftheheart.org. Acknowledge your feelings. Reach out. If you feel lonely or isolated, be realistic. The holidays don't have to be perfect. Set aside differences. Make time for yourself. Seek professional help if you need it. Giftoftheheart.org. Helping hands for hurting hearts.
Keep up with what's going on in the downtown area with Ocala Downtown Newspaper. Delivering thousands of newspapers to businesses in the downtown area, Ocala Downtown is there to keep you informed. They even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about it. It's simple. For more info, just call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223, and pick up your copy of the Downtown Ocala newspaper today.
Now read Ocala Downtown Newspaper online.
All right, 17 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Jamie DeNovo is on the phone, and she might have some information that'll help you achieve the goals that you're trying to set as we approach tomorrow and we start thinking, what do we want to do? She might have some step-by-steps to help us with. And let me just say real quickly, I want to tell Jamie how I quit smoking cigars, and then I want her to give us information. Because I'm thinking maybe I stumbled on something 8 years ago, but I don't know how to reproduce it. That's why I'm all ears. So, Jamie, let me tell you what happened. About 8 years ago, this time of year, between Christmas and New Year's, I had a cold, and at that time I smoked cigars, and Robin will tell you, just like they were cigarettes or like they were candy. It was crazy. I was way overboard. But I didn't like smoking cigars when I had a cold. So I would just not touch them. So I had a cold before New Year's. I had the cold through New Year's, and about the third day of the new year that year, I suddenly was in the mood again for a cigar. But I thought, you know what? I haven't smoked at all this year. So there was a psychological trick there. Wow, I haven't smoked all year, even though it was only 3 days. And the rest is history. I never picked up another cigar. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing to me, yes.
That is a fantastic story, and it is definitely one of the ways I could possibly explain that. People's minds are all very, very unique, but one of the cause and effect principles using brain science that could explain that is the fact that suddenly taking yourself away from cigar smoking, you allowed yourself to do something that you really did want to do. If you hadn't wanted to quit cigar smoking in the first place, you wouldn't have congratulated yourself for going,
Good
so long.
Good point. Okay.
Yeah, so that was part of your self-concept, is that already you did not want to be a cigar smoker. And once you had achieved that for a few days, you were able to start focusing your brain on the fact that I'm not a cigar smoker. It feels good. I'm proud of that. And now your brain is giving you reward. It's giving you a different kind of reward, and it's very powerful. It links to who Larry is and what he's accomplished. So now your brain is beginning to produce a whole new set of neurochemicals that are making you feel good about that, and one thing always leads to another. The more you focus on the fact that this is who you are now, the better you feel, and the more you start retraining your brain circuits.
Jack Canfield has a nice quote on the sheet that you sent me, and he's been a guest on our show, by the way. He writes, I Am Possible Muscle for the Mind is full of useful information and valuable new ideas and techniques backed up by the latest research on neuroscience and the brain that will help you overcome any obstacle, internal or external, and create a rich and fulfilling life. I can't think of anyone who wouldn't benefit from this book. That's pretty nice praise from a guy who has come to be known as a guy who can spot a hit from a mile away, a hit book or a hit concept. So let's say I knock on your door and I say, Jamie, can you help me? Give me the first step. What do I need to do? I want to lose weight, or I want to start saving more money or spending less money. What's the first step to do?
Well, the first step I tell you to do is read the book, because there's no magic bullet. If you ask me to give you one fix, it's like going to a doctor if you have a major problem and going, doctor, give me one sentence, give me something you can write down on here.
Yeah.
He could give you information, but what are you going to do? You're going to go home and do the same thing. What I will tell you, first of all, to leave you with this thought, is that what science has found is that words you feed yourself impact your brain in the same way that what you eat, what you drink, what you absorb into your body, whether it's, through injection, through any means, impacts your body. So your brain works by processes. Once words hit your brain, whether it's self-talk, whether it's what someone else tells you, whether it's what you read, you listen to, processes take over. Now you have no control.
And what's very amazing about your message is that what we read about you, that you had your own ground zero. We don't know what it is, but you had to pick yourself up, and all the self-help books you went to couldn't help you. So you had to look within yourself to help yourself.
That's absolutely right. The specialist who at the time ran a series of brain tests said I was suffering the severity of post-traumatic stress disorder I was suffering was similar to that seen in combat veterans. So again, with all due respect to everyone who wrote books, to the wonderful therapists, to all the people I worked with, I could hear their words, but I could not. I couldn't actually actualize those things. I had there was missing links.
This is what we talked about yesterday. Yeah, I had this same thing. So can I ask you, what do you tell yourself? Let's say, I'm going to tell you one of my actual goals in life. Are you ready? One of my bucket list things.
All right.
My mother was born in Velbert, Germany. I've always said, I want to go see what this little town looks like, just to see it. I don't have any real reason other than to just kind of be in the town and say, oh, this is the town. All right, so should I tell myself I'm going to put away $1 a day until I have enough money to go? Or should I tell myself I'm going to Velbert, Germany? What do I tell myself to make that happen?
You do that both. You do both those things. The difference between a dream and a goal is that a dream is a goal is a dream that you have started to actualize. You have got to see that as if you have already done it. This is my dream, but this is as good as achieved. And now you start putting that dollar away. How do you do that? I actually use that very thing that you're just describing. I have an example of how you do that, how you change your brain enough to be able to make choices that will allow you to follow through on exactly what you said, even when you don't want to, even when there are distractions. There are simple things you can do moment by moment, not step by step, but moment by moment, that will change your brain each moment so it will reward you and lead you into the next moment. Because it's really not by the days or hours that we achieve or we fail. It's by the moment. That's where we get the word momentum from. That's how powerful the moments are.
Ah, I like that. I like that.
You have put a different perspective on the word dreamer, because when people weren't happy with other people, they'll say, oh, you're just dreaming. It's never going to work out. But you have a Global Dreamers Guild on your website. And dreamer means you can have what other people deem the impossible.
Exactly. I'm not sure where our time is at because I wasn't watching the clock either. But the word I am possible, when you understand the concept, words activate networks in your brain. And we have no word in our language to describe the transition of the state of possible to impossible. And that's another conversation, because our brain sees the word possible and the word impossible as two completely different entities. So if you're rethinking possible, you are never going to go to places. Your brain networks will not open up places that it has already decided are impossible.
Wow.
Do you know, I often looked at the word pretend and the words make believe as predecessors to actually doing or having something. If you pretend, then you're pre-doing. It's kind of like what you're saying, kind of imagining it's already there. Like a child does this all the time. Mm-hmm. Or you make believe, you're making yourself believe it. It's kind of interesting how that might actually lead to the reality of it.
Do you know, that's such a good point, Larry. The word prepare. We talk about preparing. It's pre-participation, before participation.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and it really teaches us how we practice something is how we'll eventualize it. You know, you hear the saying, practice makes perfect. And now I laugh when I hear that, because as I've been taught, no, practice does not make perfect, but it does make permanent. So if you are preparing or practicing in the wrong way, how good is your outcome?
That's
going
true.
to be?
That's really true. And we know that from playing musical instruments. If you don't do it right, you'll be very good at doing it wrong.
I'm good at that.
Jamie, I knew this was going to be a great conversation. Now, I think you told me in the email that the book doesn't come out till January 2nd. Is that right?
Yes, that's a safe date to give you, is January 2nd.
Okay. And I can buy it for my Kindle. I can buy it as an ebook?
Yes, you can buy it for your Kindle, and you can buy it in hard copy on Amazon, and you can also go to my website.
Do you know,
DeNovo.
When I went to your website, by the way, I saw how pretty you are, and I had a thought that the first year I took Spanish, I was horrible at it. The second year I took Spanish, I was good at it. The difference, the second year, the teacher was really cute. So Tony Robbins couldn't teach me anything, but I think maybe you can.
Yeah, you are drop dead gorgeous.
I'm just teasing. I'm not teasing, but I am teasing.
Well, she is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah,
I would say.
So Jamie, and the book itself, if we want to buy it, can we get it on Amazon or on your website? How do we get the book?
Yes, you can order it on Amazon. You can also pre-order on my website, and I will personally send you a copy. I will autograph and send you a copy. So either one, January 2nd is the date to keep in mind. And once you read the book, I want to hear how it's made a difference in your life. And I would welcome participation on the website.
Jamie's website is jamiedenovo.com. Let me spell it, JAMIEDENOVO.com. And just to make it easy, Robin already has it on our guest list, so you can get it there. Plus, this interview is being recorded. It'll be up on Facebook and on YouTube by 2 o'clock today. Jamie, real quickly, I know we've got 45 seconds. Did you use these techniques to make this book a reality?
Absolutely. If these techniques didn't work, this book wouldn't exist. This is the book that should have been impossible to write. So I lived it to do it.
Wow.
Jamie, thank you again for taking my call yesterday. I called Jamie yesterday kind of at the last minute because I was reading about her on one of the publications that we subscribe to online. It used to be an actual magazine. Now it's an online magazine. But it's still a useful one. And Jamie's name just jumped out at me, and I wanted to talk about this because I'm passionate about this very topic.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this. I just don't know how to execute it. And it seems like that's where you made the difference. Jamie, thank you again for being on the air with us today.
I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for having me, both Larry and Robin.
Great interview. All right, we'll be right back.
Those on board a missing AirAsia plane getting the worst possible news.
Indonesia's Navy reports 40 victims found dead. Pictures show bodies floating with their clothes ripped off. Anguished relatives weeping.